Hi, you guys. I'm Samantha, and I'm here today with Corey, who is a CRIS certified contractors insurance specialist. It's a mouthful. So I'm a contractor. What are some of the basic things that I need as far as insurance goes?
So it's a good question, Samantha. Insurance is going to do a lot of things for you as a contractor. I mean, one, it protects you and your clients. Two, it lets you get jobs. You have to show certain requirements in insurance to get certain jobs. And three, it may help you get a license depending on what state that you're in.
Okay, so I know that in every state it's not necessarily required. So what would you say to someone who lives in a state where contractors insurance isn't required? How would you go about that if,
Yeah, absolutely. So you take a place like Texas, which is really the Wild West. There's only a few trades that are licensed where you have to have insurance. You can build brand new houses for people and you don't need insurance. You don't need a license in a lot of places in Texas. That said, you're going to want to have insurance to protect yourself, right? So say you're a home builder in Texas. You want general liability so that if some random kid from the neighborhood wanders on the property and gets hurt, you've got the premise liability aspect of that. You want to have workers' comp. If you have employees working there and they get hurt, then that responsibility is on you. If you don't have that insurance, it's coming out of your pocket for their medical bills.
Okay.
And also, if you're building that house, you might want something called builder's risk or course of construction insurance, which is kind of like homeowner's insurance, but while the property is being built. You can't buy a normal homeowner's policy while it's under construction. So if it burns down or lightning hits it, that's what you need builder's risk for.
Okay. So again, all this sounds like a lot. Is this something that's going to cost me a ton of money, or is this something that's more affordable?
There's absolutely affordable options for whatever it is that you need. It comes down to sitting down or virtually sitting down via phone or internet with your agent and talking through the specifics of your business. And then the agent, like in our agency, we're going to tailor fit our recommendations to both what we think you need and also what you can afford right now. In the end, the choice is up to you. We're going to give you the best recommendation we can.
Okay. So I know from personal experience, I've worked with insurance agents in the past who try to sell me on a ton of things that I don't necessarily need. How do I go into this situation knowing what I need? Who can I trust? Is there somebody that's going to be able to have my back throughout all of this?
Yeah, good question. So, like so many things these days, you want to look at the online reviews. You want to look at the online reviews for the agency you're dealing with. And then it is going to come down to your personal interaction with that agent. Not everybody's for everybody, right? So you want to have someone that you can talk to and that you trust. Lay out what you're doing, be honest with your agent, and let your agent ask you questions and help analyze your situation. And they'll present different options for you, and you can pick what you want to do. It's up to you.
All right. So you're with Affordable Contractors Insurance. What makes that stand out above the rest?
Well, number one, we have excellent reviews online. We have over 600 reviews on Trustpilot with a 4.9 average rating. So we're pretty proud of that. Our clients are pretty happy. The other thing that we do is, honestly, we take more time with you. We hear this all the time from folks that we're talking with online. Look, you're going to call around and you're going to get quotes from different agencies. And what I hear all the time and our other agents hear is, oh man, nobody asked me that before. Nobody went over these details with what's an occurrence policy, what's a claims made. Nobody broke it down for them. Everyone else they're talking to online is just, oh, here's 5 questions. Let me give you a quote, trying to make money as fast as they can. That's not how we approach it.
Awesome. Okay. Yeah. So it sounds like you guys really break it down and provide the basics. So again, going back to those states where you might not necessarily need to be insured, what are the absolute basic things that you would tell every contractor to be insured with?
Yeah, so your number one, if it's all optional, the number one thing you want to get most of the time is general liability, right?
Can you tell me a little bit more about what general liability is?
Yeah. General liability is protection for third parties, right? So the two main things, it does a few little built-in things, but the two main things it does is it covers damage to the property of others, which might be, say, you're remodeling somebody's house and you cause unintentional damage, you break their big plate glass window, right? Damage to the property of others, or bodily injury caused to others. I used the example earlier of a neighborhood kid coming and getting into your tools perhaps and hurting themselves. Those are two of the big things that general liability is going to cover for you.
Great.
Another coverage that you want to consider is workers' compensation. It's expensive. There's no getting around it. It really doesn't matter what state you're in. It's expensive. Okay. And it's important though. It's really important because if somebody gets hurt on your job site and you're responsible for it, those medical costs are not going down anytime soon.
Do you have like an estimate? Because I'm sure when you run into that situation, that's going to be more costly to you than it would be to have workers' comp. So do you kind of have some numbers to compare?
Yeah, so I can give you some examples, right? We deal with a lot of roofers. Those are one of the areas we specialize in. And depending what state you're in, it might be as low as 7% times your payroll. And in some states like Georgia, it might be something like 70% times your roofing payroll. It really varies, but that's why you got to get into the nitty gritty of it. There are ways to avoid having to share all that cost. If your subcontractors have their own workers' comp, you don't end up paying the premium on their workers, right? So there are some ways to structure your business that can help you keep those insurance costs down.
Gotcha. Okay, so what are some states that require a little bit more than, of course, those states that we discussed earlier don't require anything?
Absolutely. So Florida, you're going to have general liability and workers' comp unless you are, like a sole proprietor, a single member LLC, no employees. You could exempt yourself from the workers' comp at the state level. California is heavily regulated. You got to have workers' comp to get your license there. They don't even ask you for the general liability. You need to have it. Some trades they ask for the GL, but a lot of them they don't. First thing you got to do, protect those workers. Washington and Oregon are similar. Washington, you got to register through L&I. Oregon's pretty heavily regulated as well. You have to have both of those, general liability and workers' comp policies.
All right. Okay. So working in the insurance agency when it comes to contractors, I feel like you have some interesting stories. I mean, what are some of those that you could share? Like, sure. Yeah, I mean, and, maybe share a time too where you had someone who came in uninsured and then, made the decision like, hey, this event happened. I need to get insurance.
Yeah. So the minute you asked that, one of the funniest stories to me, and I use this example a lot of time, is we had a guy and he was using a subcontractor. And he sent this subcontractor out to paint somebody's house. Now, this house shared a driveway with another residence. Guess what the painter did?
What did he do?
He painted the wrong house. Yes.
And nobody painted the wrong house. That's so funny. Like,
apparently the home, the people he was supposed to paint were out of town, but the people whose house he did paint were in the house. And they just let it happen. They just kind of
went with it?
Yeah, okay. I know.
How do you explain a good color and not anything?
Well, it ended up resulting in a claim, and the insurance company paid out to replace the siding on their house to something they liked, and who knows, maybe that's why they let them do it anyway, right? Because they wanted a freebie. They wanted it, yeah. So, we do hear some other interesting stories. We had a guy once that called us up and said, oh, hey, I need this insurance to put a roof on a church. Okay, you want a general liability insurance. He was in a big hurry. And, he said he hadn't had any claims in the past, no reason to believe in a claim. You got to sign off on all this stuff, right? And come to find out a few weeks later, this guy actually called us while the church he was working on was on fire due to the torch down roofing application he was doing there. So that is insurance fraud, right? When you lie about something, you can't cover it after the fact, okay? Don't do that. Don't be that guy, please. Don't be that guy.
For sure. Okay. So I know, with the name Affordable Contractors Insurance. So when it comes to getting the best rate, I mean, if I were to come to you guys and I was like, hey, this company gave me this rate. I mean, can you guys match that? Like, how do you guys go about finding the most affordable rate?
Yeah. So affordable is relative. Okay. So everything is on a scale of what you get, what you pay for, right? So we want to understand what are you doing in terms of your operations. So we have access to some kind of a la carte policies where if you're not going to be working on churches and schools, why do you want to pay for coverage for that? If you're just remodeling single family homes, let's put you in something that covers you for remodeling single family homes, right? So that's one strategy is we understand what you need and insure you only for what you're doing. Can we take into account competitive quotes, provide that to our underwriters for help in pricing? Certainly we can. But the biggest piece of it is really analyzing what your needs are in terms of your operations and then shopping it out to a variety of markets. We have dozens of companies that we use depending on the size of your business, what your operations are, what kind of clients you're working with.
Okay, understandable. So again, I'm thinking too, if you go into a situation you don't have employees and then you add employees, workers' comp is something that you can add on later. So you can add and change your plans as needed.
You don't have to buy all the insurance at once. In fact, a lot of contractors, especially in a place like Texas, they get the general liability first, right? And then it happens that they get a commercial job. Well, even though it's not required at a state level to have workers' comp, Texas being the only state where there's no kind of requirement for workers' comp, you might need it for the contract you want, right? So now you've got a big commercial contract, re-roofing a warehouse or something like that. That company and their attorneys want you to have workers' comp because they don't want to be responsible if something happens.
Awesome. All right. Well, Corey, thank you so much for being here and answering some of my questions. I hope we were able to answer a lot of your guys' as well. If you want to tune into more videos, be sure to turn on those notifications, and we will see you next time.